The morning sun glinted off the wide windows of Westlake High School as Devin Johnson stood at the entrance, backpack slung over one shoulder. He took a deep breath, feeling the familiar knot in his stomach that came with being the new kid. Again. This was his fourth school in 6 years. His dad's military career kept their family moving across the country like chess pieces on a board. Just when Devin would start to make friends and feel comfortable, they'd get new orders, and the whole process would start over. "You'll be fine," his mother had assured him that morning, straightening his collar with a gentle touch. "Just be yourself. The right people will appreciate you for who you are." Devin wanted to believe her, but experience had taught him otherwise. Being the new kid was hard enough. Being the new black kid in a predominantly white suburban school, that came with its own set of challenges. He checked his schedule one more time before pushing through the heavy front doors. The school smelled like floor polish and teenage anxiety, a scent he'd become all too familiar with over the years. The hallway buzzed with the energy of students catching up after summer break, their voices echoing off the lockers that lined the walls. No one noticed him at first. Devin was good at blending in despite his height. At 16, he already stood 6 feet tall with broad shoulders that hinted at his athletic build. He kept his head down, following the room numbers until he found his first class, American History with Mr. Reynolds. The classroom was half full when he arrived. Devin handed his transfer slip to the teacher, a balding man with kind eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. "Welcome to Westlake, Mr. Johnson," Mr. Reynolds said, scanning the paper. "Find any empty seat for today. We'll assign permanent seating next week." Devin nodded and turned to face the room. The chatter dimmed as 20 pairs of eyes landed on him. He felt the weight of their stares as he made his way to an empty desk in the middle row. Not too front, not too back, the sweet spot for staying under the radar. A girl with curly red hair smiled at him as he sat down. "Hi," she whispered. "I'm Lily." "Devin," he replied, returning her smile with a small one of his own. Their interaction didn't go unnoticed. Near the back of the classroom, a group of boys watched the exchange with narrowed eyes. Their leader, a tall, broad-shouldered guy with sandy blonde hair, leaned over to whisper something to his friends. They snickered in response, their eyes never leaving Devin. Mr. Reynolds called the class to attention and Devin focused on taking notes. He'd learned early on that good grades were his ticket to a better future. While his dad wanted him to consider a military career, Devin had other dreams. He wanted to study engineering, to build things that would last longer than the temporary friendships he'd been forced to leave behind. When the bell rang, Devin gathered his books, ready to move to his next class. As he stood, he felt someone bump into his shoulder. Hard enough to make him stumble. "Watch it." "New kid," the blond boy from the back row said, his voice carrying a hint of challenge. Devin said nothing, just straightened his backpack and kept moving. He'd been down this road before. Engaging would only escalate things. His next few classes passed without incident. By lunchtime, Devin had a sense of Westlake's social landscape. Like most high schools, it operated on an unspoken hierarchy. The athletes and cheerleaders sat at the center tables in the cafeteria, surrounded by their respective satellites of friends and admirers. The drama kids claimed the space near the stage door, while the self-proclaimed intellectuals huddled near the windows with their books and chessboards. Devin stood at the entrance with his tray, searching for a quiet corner. "Hey, new guy!" He turned to see Lily waving at him from a table near the wall. She sat with a small group of students who didn't seem to fit neatly into any particular category. Devin hesitated, then made his way over. "Everyone, this is Devin," Lily announced as he approached. "He's in my American history class." The group offered a chorus of greetings. There was Tom, a lanky boy with glasses who couldn't seem to stop fidgeting. Rosa, a quiet girl with intricate braids who barely looked up from her sketchbook. And Jackson, who wore a faded band t-shirt and gave Devin a nod of acknowledgement. "Where'd you move from?" Tom asked, pushing his glasses up his nose. "Virginia," Devin replied, taking a bite of his sandwich. "My dad got transferred to the base here. Military kid, huh?" Jackson said. "That's rough moving around all the time." Devin shrugged. "You get used to it." "Well, you picked a decent table to sit at," Lily said with a grin. "We're not cool enough to have enemies, but not weird enough to get picked on regularly. It's a sweet spot." The others laughed, and Devin felt some of the tension leave his shoulders. Maybe this time would be different. His attention drifted to the center tables where the blond boy from his history class held court. He sat surrounded by friends, all of them wearing Letterman jackets despite the warm September weather. "That's Tyler Davidson," Lily said, following Devin's gaze. "Captain of the wrestling team, student council vice president, and self-appointed ruler of Westlake High. Also known as the biggest jerk in the Northern Hemisphere," Tom added, keeping his voice low. "Don't stare too long," Rosa advised, finally looking up from her drawing. "He doesn't like being observed like some kind of rare and temperamental zoo animal." As if on cue, Tyler looked in their direction. His eyes locked with Devin's for a moment before his lips curled into a smirk. He leaned over to say something to his friends, and they all turned to stare. Devin looked away, focusing on his lunch. "Thanks for the warning. Just stay out of his way," Jackson advised. "Tyler and his crew have a thing about new students. They like to test them or something. Especially if you're—" His voice trailed off. "Different?" Devin supplied. An uncomfortable silence fell over the table. "Sorry," Jackson mumbled. "That came out wrong." "It's fine," Devin said. "I know what you mean." The bell rang, signaling the end of lunch. As they all stood to clear their trays, Lily touched Devin's arm. "What class do you have next?" she asked. Devin checked his schedule. "Physics with Dr. Chen." "Me too," said Tom, brightening. "I can show you where it is." As they made their way through the crowded hallway, Devin felt something hit the back of his head. He turned to find a crumpled paper ball on the floor. Down the hall, Tyler and two of his friends were watching, their expressions a mixture of amusement and challenge. Tom tugged at Devin's sleeve. "Just keep walking," he whispered. "They're not worth it." Devin nodded, though he felt heat rising to his face. He'd dealt with bullies before. Sometimes they lost interest if they didn't get a reaction. Sometimes they didn't. The rest of the day passed in a blur of new teachers, unfamiliar classrooms, and the constant feeling of being watched. By the time the final bell rang, Devin was mentally exhausted. He made his way to his assigned locker to collect the books he'd need for homework. As he was organizing his backpack, a shadow fell over him. Devin looked up to find Tyler and three of his friends surrounding him. "So you're the new kid everyone's talking about," Tyler said, leaning against the neighboring locker. "Devin, right?" Devin nodded, keeping his face neutral. "That's me." "Where'd you say you were from again?" one of Tyler's friends asked, a tall guy with a buzz cut. "I didn't," Devin replied, "but it's Virginia." "Virginia," Tyler repeated as if testing the word. "Long way from home. You must be missing your friends." There was something in his tone that made Devin wary. He zipped up his backpack and closed his locker. "It's not that far." Tyler stepped closer, invading Devin's personal space. "Word of advice, new kid. Westlake has a certain order to things. Might want to figure out where you fit before you get too comfortable." Devin met his gaze steadily. "Thanks for the tip." For a moment they stood there, neither willing to be the first to look away. Then the buzzcut guy nudged Tyler. "Coach is waiting, man." Tyler finally stepped back. "See you around, Johnson." The way he said it sounded more like a threat than a farewell. Devin watched them walk away, their Letterman jackets like badges of authority in the crowded hallway. He let out a breath he hadn't realized he was holding. "Don't let them get to you." Devin turned to find Rosa standing nearby, her sketchbook clutched to her chest. "I wasn't planning to," he said. Rosa gave him a small smile. "Good, because once Tyler decides you're a target, he doesn't let up easily." She hesitated, then added, "Some of us are meeting at the library tomorrow after school to study. You should come." Before Devin could respond, she turned and disappeared into the crowd of students heading for the exits. Outside, the afternoon sun was still warm. Devin decided to walk home instead of taking the bus. Their new house was only 15 blocks away, and he needed time to think. As he walked, he called his mom to let her know he'd be a little late. "How was your first day?" she asked, her voice tinged with hope and worry. Devin considered telling her about Tyler and his friends, about the paper ball and the veiled threats. But he knew it would only make her anxious, and there was nothing she could do about it anyway. "It was fine," he said instead. "Just the usual new kid stuff." As he hung up, Devin thought about what lay ahead. He had 2 years left of high school before college. 2 years in this new place with its invisible boundaries and unspoken rules. 2 years to navigate the complicated terrain of being the outsider. But as he turned onto his street, Devin felt a sense of resolve settling over him. He'd been the new kid before. He'd faced bullies before, and every time, he'd found a way to survive, to carve out a space for himself. This time would be no different. He just needed to be patient, to watch and learn. And if Tyler Davidson and his friends thought they could intimidate him, they were in for a surprise, because what they didn't know, what no one at Westlake High knew yet, was that Devin Johnson was much more than just the new black kid. By the end of his first week at Westlake High, Devin had settled into something resembling a routine. He'd memorized his class schedule, figured out which hallways to avoid between periods, and even made a few acquaintances who might eventually become friends. Lily, Tom, Rosa, and Jackson had adopted him into their small circle, saving him a seat at lunch and including him in their conversations. But as Devin was learning, Tyler Davidson and his crew operated on a different schedule, one that seemed increasingly focused on making the new kid's life difficult. It started with small things. A shoulder bump in the hallway, whispered comments just loud enough for Devin to hear as he walked by, someone accidentally knocking his books off his desk during class changes. Just ignore them, Tom advised during lunch on Friday, after they'd witnessed Tyler mimicking Devin's walk from across the cafeteria, earning laughs from his friends. They'll get bored eventually. Devin nodded, though he wasn't so sure. He'd seen this pattern before at other schools. Sometimes ignoring the problem only made it worse. Why doesn't anyone stand up to them? Devin asked, keeping his voice low. The group exchanged glances. Last year, this kid named Miguel called Tyler out for picking on a freshman, Jackson explained. Next day, Miguel's locker was filled with garbage and someone slashed the tires on his bike. No one could prove it was Tyler's crew, but everyone knew. Plus, Tyler's dad is on the school board, Lily added, twisting a curl around her finger. And he donates a ton of money to the athletic department. So he gets away with everything, Devin concluded. Rosa, who had been quietly sketching, looked up. Not everything, but enough. After lunch, Devin headed to his PE class. It was the one class where he hadn't encountered any of Tyler's friends, which made it a welcome break in his day. The teacher, Coach Winters, was a no-nonsense woman in her 50s who treated all students the same, like potential Olympians who just needed the right motivation. Johnson, she called as Devin entered the gym. You're with Baker and Chen for basketball today. Devin joined his assigned team, relieved to focus on something he enjoyed. Basketball had been his outlet at every new school, a universal language he could speak even when he didn't know anyone. He played well, maybe too well. By the end of the period, even Coach Winters was watching him with interest. Nice footwork, Johnson, she commented as the class was wrapping up. You play before? Yes, ma'am, Devin replied. At my old school, varsity. JV, but I was moving up this year before we relocated, Coach nodded thoughtfully. Our team could use someone with your speed. Tryouts for winter sports start next month. You should consider it. Devin hadn't planned on joining any teams. It was harder to leave when you were part of something, but he found himself nodding anyway. I'll think about it. As he headed to the locker room to change, Devin didn't notice the pair of eyes watching him from the gym entrance. The final bell couldn't come soon enough. As Devin made his way to his locker, he spotted Tyler and two of his friends leaning against the wall nearby. They weren't looking at him, but Devin could feel the tension in the air. He opened his locker quickly, planning to grab his things and leave before they noticed him. But as he reached for his history textbook, he realized it wasn't there. Looking for something? Came Tyler's voice from behind him. Devin turned slowly. Tyler was holding a book, Devin's book, with exaggerated curiosity. American history, Tyler read from the cover. Fascinating subject. All those important white men doing important things. He flipped through the pages carelessly. I wonder if you're in here anywhere. Probably not, huh? Devin felt heat rising to his face but kept his expression neutral. Can I have my book back, please? I've got homework. Tyler pretended to consider this. I don't know. What's it worth to you? It's worth about $60 to the school if it gets damaged, Devin replied evenly. And I'm pretty sure they'll make you pay for it. Something flickered in Tyler's eyes. Surprise, maybe, that Devin wasn't intimidated. But it quickly hardened into annoyance. You think you're smart, don't you? Tyler stepped closer, his friends moving to flank him. You come in here with your perfect grades and your basketball skills thinking you own the place. Devin hadn't said anything about his grades. Had Tyler been checking up on him? I'm just trying to get through the day. Devin said, keeping his voice calm. Same as everyone else. See, that's where you're wrong, Tyler said, his voice dropping. You're not the same as everyone else, and the sooner you figure that out, the better. The implication hung in the air between them, ugly and unmistakable. Before Devin could respond, a teacher appeared at the end of the hallway. Everything okay over there? She called. Tyler's demeanor changed instantly, his face relaxing into an easy smile. Yes, Ms. Roberts, just helping the new student find his book. He handed the textbook to Devin with exaggerated politeness. Here you go, buddy. See you Monday. As they walked away, one of Tyler's friends bumped Devin's shoulder hard enough to make him step back. Watch yourself, new kid, he muttered. Devin stood at his locker long after they'd gone, his heart pounding in his chest. It wasn't fear. He'd faced worse than Tyler Davidson. It was anger, simmering just below the surface, and the effort of keeping it contained. That night at dinner, Devin's parents noticed his quiet mood. Rough day? His father asked, passing the salad bowl. Devin shrugged. Just school stuff. His mother studied him with concern. Is someone giving you trouble, baby? I'm handling it, Devin said quickly. The last thing he needed was his parents getting involved. His dad, with his military bearing and protective instincts, would probably march into the principal's office on Monday morning. You know, when I was stationed in Germany, his father began. There was this sergeant who had it out for me from day one. Nothing I did was right for him. Devin had heard this story before, but he let his dad continue. I could have reported him, but that would have made things worse. Instead, I worked twice as hard, kept my head down, and eventually earned his respect. His father fixed him with a serious look. Sometimes the best way to deal with a bully is to show them they can't break you. Devin nodded. Though he wasn't sure the same approach would work with Tyler. School bullies operated by different rules than military sergeants. After dinner, Devin retreated to his room and pulled out his phone. He had a text from Lily asking if he was coming to Rosa's birthday gathering the next day at the local pizza place. He hadn't planned on it. Weekend social events at a new school were usually awkward, but now he found himself typing yes before he could overthink it. He needed friends here, people in his corner, and maybe a night out would help clear his head. Saturday evening found Devin at Gino's Pizza, a local hangout packed with teenagers enjoying the weekend. Rosa's birthday gathering was small, just their lunch table crew plus a few others he hadn't met yet. Didn't think you'd come, Rosa said when he arrived, a genuine smile lighting up her usually serious face. Wouldn't miss it, Devin replied, handing her a small gift bag containing a set of professional drawing pencils he'd noticed at the mall. His mom had helped him pick them out. Rosa peeked inside and her eyes widened. How did you know? Devin shrugged. You're always sketching. Figured you could use some good tools. The evening was going well until the door chimed and a loud group entered the restaurant. Devin didn't need to turn around to know who it was. The sudden tension at their table told him everything. Great, Tom muttered. There goes our night. Devin glanced over his shoulder. Tyler and at least 6 of his friends were claiming a large booth across the restaurant. They hadn't noticed Devin's group yet, tucked away in the corner. Maybe they won't see us, Lily whispered hopefully. But luck wasn't on their side. As one of the waiters led 2 latecomers from Tyler's group past their table, the inevitable happened. Well, look who it is, said a tall girl with a cheerleader's build. The reject table. Her eyes landed on Devin, and they've adopted a new stray. Lily stood up, her cheeks flushed. It's Rosa's birthday, Heather. Just leave us alone. Heather feigned surprise. A birthday? How sweet. She looked around the table with exaggerated pity. Couldn't find more people to come? Not everyone measures their worth by crowd size, Rosa said quietly but with an edge to her voice. Heather's eyes narrowed, but before she could reply, Tyler appeared behind her. Problem here? He asked, though his smirk suggested he knew exactly what was happening. No problem, Devin said, meeting Tyler's gaze steadily. Your friends were just leaving. A tense silence fell over the group. Devin could feel his new friends holding their breath, waiting for Tyler's reaction. To everyone's surprise, Tyler laughed. You've got guts, new kid. I'll give you that. He put a hand on Heather's shoulder. Come on, our pizza's getting cold. As they walked away, Devin could hear them laughing, no doubt at his expense. But he didn't care. For a brief moment, he'd stood his ground and Tyler had backed down. That was Unexpected, Jackson said once they were gone. Tom looked at Devin with newfound respect. Dude, no one talks to Tyler like that. Maybe they should, Devin replied, picking up his soda. He's just a guy, not a king. The rest of the evening passed without incident, though Devin could feel eyes on him from across the restaurant. When it was time to leave, he made sure Rosa and Lily got safely to Lily's mom's car before heading toward the bus stop. He was halfway there when he heard footsteps behind him. Hey, Johnson. Devin turned to find Tyler walking toward him alone this time. Every instinct told him to keep walking, but that would only delay the inevitable. Better to face whatever this was now. What do you want, Tyler? He asked, standing his ground. Tyler stopped a few feet away, his expression unreadable in the dim light of the parking lot. You think you're tough, don't you? Standing up for your little friends in there. I think we're all just trying to enjoy a Saturday night, Devin replied, and I think you go out of your way to make that difficult for people. Tyler's eyes narrowed. You don't know anything about me, and you don't know anything about me, Devin countered. But that hasn't stopped you from making assumptions. For a moment, something like uncertainty flickered across Tyler's face. Then his expression hardened again. Monday morning. Things are going to change. It wasn't quite a threat, but the intention was clear enough. Looking forward to it, Devin said, his voice steadier than he felt. As Tyler walked back toward the restaurant, Devin let out a long breath. He didn't know what Monday would bring, but he knew one thing for certain. He wasn't going to let Tyler Davidson or anyone else make him feel small. Not this time. Not at this school. Monday morning arrived with a sense of dread hanging over Devin. The weekend had given him time to think. Too much time, perhaps. His conversation with Tyler in the pizza parlor parking lot kept replaying in his mind. Monday morning. Things are going to change. On him, what exactly did Tyler have planned? Devin's father noticed his distraction at breakfast. Everything okay, son? He asked, lowering his newspaper. Devin nodded, pushing his cereal around the bowl. Just thinking about school. His father studied him for a moment. You know, if something's wrong, you can tell us. That's what we're here for. I know, Dad. Devin managed a small smile. But I need to handle this myself. His father didn't look convinced, but he nodded. All right. Just remember what I always tell you. Stand tall, stay calm, and never throw the first punch, Devin finished for him. It was his dad's mantra, a code he'd lived by through multiple deployments and countless conflicts. That's right. His father reached across the table and squeezed his shoulder. But don't forget the rest of it, Devin nodded. If someone else throws the first punch, make sure they don't get a chance to throw a second one. The bus ride to school was tense. Devin kept his headphones on, the music a buffer between him and his thoughts. As the bus pulled into the school parking lot, he spotted Tyler and his friends gathered near the front entrance. His stomach tightened. For a brief, shameful moment, Devin considered asking the driver to let him off at the side entrance. But that would only delay the inevitable. Better to face whatever was coming head-on. As he stepped off the bus, he heard a familiar voice call his name. Lily was waving at him from nearby, Tom and Rosa at her side. We thought we'd walk in together today, Lily said when he approached, her tone casual but her eyes conveying more. Safety in numbers, Tom added with a nervous laugh. Devin felt a rush of gratitude. They barely knew him, yet here they were, showing up when it mattered. Thanks, guys. As they approached the entrance, Tyler's group shifted, forming a sort of gauntlet they'd have to walk through. Devin straightened his back and kept his eyes forward, his father's words echoing in his mind. Stand tall, stay calm. Well, if it isn't the new kid and his fan club, Tyler called out as they got closer. His friends snickered on cue. Devin kept walking, his friends staying close. What's the matter, Johnson? Cat got your tongue? Tyler stepped directly into their path, forcing them to stop. Or maybe you're only brave when there's a crowd watching? Move, Tyler, Rosa said, her usually quiet voice firm. We're going to be late. Tyler's eyes never left Devin's face. You know, I was thinking about our little chat on Saturday. About how I don't know anything about you. His lips curled into a smirk. So I did some research. Devin felt a chill run down his spine. What was Tyler talking about? Turns out Johnson here has quite the history. Tyler continued, loud enough for the growing crowd of students to hear. 4 schools in 6 years. Always leaving suddenly. He stepped closer. What's the matter, Johnson? Can't seem to fit in anywhere? My dad's in the military, Devin said evenly. We move when he gets new orders. That's all? Is that all? Tyler pulled out his phone. Because, according to some friends I know from your last school, there was an incident right before you left. Something about a fight? Devin's heart pounded in his ears. How did Tyler know about that? What's he talking about? Lily whispered beside him. Before Devin could respond, Tyler continued his performance. Apparently, our new friend here got suspended for fighting. Put some kid in the hospital. He looked around at the crowd. Is that the kind of student we want at Westlake? Murmurs spread through the gathered students. Devin could feel their eyes on him, judging, assuming. That's not what happened, Devin said, his voice steady despite the anger building inside him. And you know it, do I? Tyler challenged. Why don't you tell us all what really happened then? The first bell rang, cutting through the tension. A teacher appeared at the door, eyeing the crowd with suspicion. What's going on out here? Everyone inside now. The students began to disperse, but Tyler held Devin's gaze for a moment longer. This isn't over, he said quietly, before turning to join his friends. Devin stood frozen, his mind racing. How had Tyler found out about Virginia? About the fight? And what else did he know or think he knew? Devin? Lily's voice brought him back to the present. We should go inside. He nodded, allowing his friends to guide him through the doors. They had questions, he could tell, but they didn't ask them. Not yet. The morning passed in a blur. Devin could feel the whispers following him from class to class, the curious stares when people thought he wasn't looking. By lunchtime, it seemed the entire school had heard Tyler's version of events, that Devin had been kicked out of his last school for violence, that he was dangerous, unstable. You don't have to talk about it if you don't want to, Tom said as they sat at their usual lunch table. But if you want to tell us what really happened, we're listening. Devin looked at their faces. Lily's concerned, Rosa's watchful, Tom's nervous, Jackson's curious. They'd stood by him this morning. They deserved the truth. It wasn't how Tyler made it sound, Devin began, keeping his voice low. At my last school, there was this guy, Pete. He and his friends had been targeting this freshman, Andy. Small kid, kind of awkward. They'd steal his stuff, push him around, the usual bully tactics. He paused, remembering. One day I found Andy in the bathroom crying. Pete and his crew had cornered him, taken his phone, and were threatening to post private photos from it online. I told them to back off, give the phone back. Pete didn't like that. He threw the first punch. And you defended yourself, Lily supplied. Devin nodded. I did, but Pete didn't know something about me. He hesitated, then decided they needed to know. I've been training in mixed martial arts since I was 8. My dad thought it would be good for discipline, and with all the moving around, it gave me something consistent. Understanding dawned on their faces. So when Pete threw that punch, Jackson began. I reacted on instinct, Devin finished. I didn't mean to hurt him badly, but he fell and hit his head on the sink. Ended up with a concussion and a broken wrist. That's not your fault, Rosa said firmly. He attacked you. The school didn't see it that way. No one else witnessed the start of the fight, just the end. Pete's dad was a big donor, like Tyler's. They were going to expel me, but my dad got new orders right around then, so we moved before it could happen. Devin looked down at his untouched lunch, and now Tyler somehow found out and he's twisting it to make me look bad. Tyler's just scared, Lily said after a moment. You stood up to him. No one does that, and now we know why. Tom added with a hint of admiration in his voice. You actually know how to fight. That's not the point, Devin said quickly. I don't want to fight anyone. I just want to get through high school without any more trouble. Well, Tyler's not going to make that easy, Jackson observed, especially now that he thinks you're a threat. The conversation was interrupted by the arrival of Coach Winters, who appeared beside their table with surprising stealth for someone her size. Johnson, she said without preamble. A word. Devin followed her to the edge of the cafeteria, aware of the curious eyes tracking his movement. I heard about the commotion this morning, Coach said, keeping her voice low. And the rumors. Devin braced himself for another lecture, another adult taking the wrong side. I don't put much stock in rumors, Coach continued, surprising him. But I do believe in giving people a fair chance to prove themselves. The winter sports tryouts I mentioned? They've been moved up, starting tomorrow after school. Coach, I don't think... You don't have to think, Johnson. Just show up. Her tone softened slightly. Look, I've been teaching long enough to know when a kid needs an outlet. Something constructive to focus on. For some, it's art or music. For others, it's sports. She gave him a significant look. For you, I'm guessing it might be both sports and whatever martial arts training you've had. Devin stared at her, caught off guard. How did you... The way you move. The way you hold yourself when you think trouble's coming. I recognize it, she patted his shoulder. My brother runs a dojo downtown. I know the signs. Before Devin could respond, she was already walking away. Tomorrow after school, Johnson. Be there. The rest of the day passed without incident, though Devin remained on high alert. Tyler was nowhere to be seen during the afternoon classes they shared, which was both a relief and a concern. What was he planning? As the final bell rang, Devin gathered his books quickly, hoping to make it off campus before encountering any more trouble. His friends had offered to walk with him to the bus, but he'd declined. They'd done enough already, and he didn't want them becoming targets by association. He was almost to the exit when he heard his name called. Turning, he saw Mr. Reynolds, his history teacher, waving him over. Got a minute, Devin? The teacher asked. I wanted to talk to you about your essay on the civil rights movement. It was excellent work. Despite his hurry, Devin felt a small glow of pride. History was his best subject, and he'd put extra effort into that assignment. Thanks, Mr. Reynolds. In fact, I was wondering if you'd be interested in our school's history club. We're preparing for the state competition, and we could use someone with your insight. Another activity, another reason to get invested in a school he'd probably leave behind in a year or two, and yet the idea was tempting. Can I think about it? Devin asked. Mr. Reynolds nodded. Of course. The club meets Thursdays after school if you decide to join us. He smiled. And don't worry about the rumors going around. This will all blow over soon enough. Devin wasn't so sure about that, but he appreciated the sentiment. By the time he made it outside, most of the buses had already left. Devin sighed, resigning himself to a long walk home. As he started across the parking lot, he spotted a familiar group gathered near the bike racks. Tyler and his crew were surrounding someone smaller, their backs to Devin. He should keep walking. It wasn't his problem, but then he heard a familiar voice, Tom's voice pitched high with fear. Just give it back, Tyler, please. Devin changed direction without thinking, moving quickly toward the group. As he got closer, he could see Tom trying to reach for something Tyler was holding above his head, a notebook with a distinctive science fiction cover. Tom's prized possession, filled with stories he'd been writing since middle school. What's the matter, Tommy boy? Afraid we'll read your little fairy tales? Tyler taunted, holding the notebook just out of reach. Leave him alone, Tyler. Devin's voice cut through the laughter. The group turned as one, surprise registering on their faces. Tyler's expression quickly shifted from shock to calculation. Well, if it isn't the Karate Kid, he said, lowering the notebook slightly. Come to save your little friend? Just give Tom his notebook and we'll all go home, Devin said, keeping his voice calm. Tyler pretended to consider this. I don't know. I'm kinda curious what's in here. He flipped the notebook open to a random page. Dear Diary, today I saw the cutest boy in math class. That's not what it says, Tom protested, his face flushed with embarrassment and anger. Give it back! Or what? Tyler challenged, his eyes fixed on Devin. Your bodyguard here is going to beat me up? Put me in the hospital like that kid from Virginia. So that was Tyler's game. He was trying to provoke Devin into proving the rumors true. No one's beating anyone up, Devin said firmly. We're just going to walk away and so are you. For a tense moment, no one moved. Then Tyler smiled, a cold expression that didn't reach his eyes. Fine, take your stupid book. He tossed the notebook at Tom, who fumbled to catch it. We were getting bored anyway. As his friends began to disperse, Tyler stepped closer to Devin. This isn't over, Johnson. Not by a long shot. Devin watched them walk away, the tension in his shoulders slowly easing. Tom clutched his notebook to his chest, relief clear on his face. Thanks, he said quietly. I don't know what I would have done if they'd wrecked this. Devin nodded, understanding. In a life full of changes and losses, sometimes the small constants became the most important things. Come on, he said, patting Tom's shoulder. I'll walk you home. As they left the school grounds, Devin couldn't shake the feeling that Tyler was right about one thing. This wasn't over. It was just beginning. The next day, Devin found himself standing in the school gym after classes had ended, dressed in basketball shorts and a t-shirt. Around him, about 20 other boys were stretching and warming up, eyeing each other with competitive glances. Coach Winters stood at center court, clipboard in hand, whistle dangling from her neck. Devin hadn't planned on attending the tryouts. After yesterday's confrontation with Tyler, the last thing he needed was more attention. But something about Coach Winter's faith in him had struck a chord. Plus, his dad had seemed genuinely happy when Devin mentioned the possibility of joining the team. Basketball tryouts first, Coach announced, her voice echoing in the high-ceilinged space. Wrestling will be tomorrow, same time. If you're trying out for both, make sure I have your name on both lists. As they lined up for drills, Devin noticed a familiar face among the hopefuls, one of Tyler's friends, the tall guy with the buzz cut. Their eyes met briefly and the guy looked away quickly, muttering something to the boy next to him. Great. Now Tyler would know he was here. Coach divided them into groups for scrimmage games, and to Devin's relief, he wasn't placed with buzz cut. As they played, Devin found himself relaxing, falling into the familiar rhythm of the game. Here, at least, he knew what he was doing. By the end of the tryout, Devin had worked up a good sweat and managed to impress not just Coach Winters, but several of the returning varsity players. Even Buzzcut was watching him with reluctant admiration. All right, gather round, Coach called when they'd finished the final scrimmage. Good work today, everyone. Results will be posted Friday morning. She looked around the circle of hopeful faces. Remember, varsity spots are limited, but we've got JV openings too. No shame in developing your skills there first. As they dispersed to the locker rooms, Devin found himself walking alongside a tall, lanky senior who'd been on the varsity team the previous year. You've got game, the senior said, offering a fist bump. I'm Will, by the way. Devin, he replied, returning the gesture. Yeah, I know. Will gave him a sideways glance. Everyone knows who you are after yesterday. Devin tensed. What have you heard? Will shrugged. Bunch of stuff. That you got kicked out of your last school for fighting. That you know some kind of secret martial arts. He smiled slightly. That you stood up to Tyler Davidson, which automatically makes you cool in my book. Most of that isn't true, Devin said carefully. Figured as much. Tyler likes to twist things. Will pushed open the locker room door. Just so you know, not everyone buys his garbage. And after seeing you play today, he grinned. Well, let's just say I hope you make the team. The unexpected support lifted Devin's spirits as he changed back into his regular clothes. Maybe things weren't as bad as they seemed. Maybe there were more people like Will at Westlake than there were like Tyler. That hope lasted until he stepped outside the gym and found Tyler himself waiting, leaning against the wall with his arms crossed. Look who's trying to be a basketball star, Tyler said, pushing off the wall. You think making the team will make people forget what you did? Devin sighed inwardly. He was tired of this game. What do you want, Tyler? Just a friendly chat. Tyler's smile didn't reach his eyes. I heard you've been telling people your version of what happened in Virginia, making yourself sound like some kind of hero. I told my friends the truth, Devin replied, adjusting his backpack strap. And I'm not interested in spreading it around the school. Unlike some people. Tyler's eyes narrowed. You calling me a liar? I'm saying you don't know what you're talking about. Devin took a step forward, bringing them face to face. And I'm also saying I'm done with this. Whatever problem you have with me, get over it. For a moment, Tyler seemed taken aback by Devin's directness. Then his expression hardened. You think you're so tough because you know some fancy moves? Because you got lucky once with some kid who wasn't expecting it? I think I just want to be left alone, Devin said evenly. And I think you're making a bigger deal out of this than it needs to be. Oh, we're just getting started. Tyler stepped closer, invading Devin's personal space. You know what? Forget all the rumors. Let's settle this for real. You and me! Warning bells went off in Devin's head. This was exactly the kind of situation his father had warned him about. I'm not fighting you, Tyler. Scared? Tyler taunted. Smart, Devin countered. Fighting on school grounds gets us both suspended at minimum. And unlike you, I actually care about my academic record. Tyler's jaw tightened. Fine. Not on school grounds, then. The Old Quarry? Friday after school. The Old Quarry was a local hangout spot just outside town limits, secluded enough for teenagers to gather without much adult supervision. Not interested, Devin said, stepping around Tyler to leave. What's the matter, Johnson? Afraid you can't take me without your kung fu surprise factor? Tyler called after him. Or maybe you're worried you'll lose in front of an audience. Devin kept walking, his father's words echoing in his mind. Never throw the first punch. But as he pushed through the school's main doors into the afternoon sunlight, Tyler's final words followed him. Everyone's going to be there, Johnson. Everyone's going to see what a fraud you really are. The next 2 days passed in a blur of classes, whispered conversations and sideways glances. The rumor about the supposed fight at the quarry spread through Westlake High like wildfire, growing more elaborate with each retelling. By Thursday, Devin had heard that he'd accepted Tyler's challenge, that there would be betting involved, and that someone's older brother was going to film it for YouTube. None of it was true, of course. Devin had no intention of showing up at the quarry on Friday. He'd made that clear to his friends during lunch on Wednesday. "You have to go," Tom had insisted, his eyes wide behind his glasses. "Everyone's expecting it." "That's exactly why I'm not going," Devin replied. "I didn't come here to fight anyone." "But Tyler's telling everyone you're too scared to face him," Lily pointed out. "He's making you look bad." "Let him," Devin shrugged. "I don't care what people think," but that wasn't entirely true. He did care more than he wanted to admit. Not about Tyler's opinion, but about the principle of the thing, about standing up to a bully who'd been making life miserable not just for him, but for others like Tom. On Thursday afternoon, as promised, Devin attended the history club meeting. Mr. Reynolds welcomed him enthusiastically, introducing him to the small group of students gathered in his classroom. "Devin here wrote an exceptional essay on the civil rights movement," Mr. Reynolds told the group. "I think he'll be a valuable addition to our team for the state competition." As Devin took a seat, he noticed several of the club members giving him curious looks. No doubt they'd heard the rumors too. A girl with braided hair and bright yellow glasses leaned over. "You're the one who's supposed to fight Tyler tomorrow, right?" she whispered. Devin sighed. "That's not happening." She studied him for a moment, then nodded. "Good. Violence doesn't solve anything." She held out her hand. "I'm Zoe, by the way. Team captain." The history club meeting turned out to be a welcome distraction. For 2 hours, Devin immersed himself in discussions about historical events and preparation strategies for the upcoming competition. No one mentioned Tyler or fighting or the quarry again. It was a reminder of what school could be like, should be like, without the cloud of Tyler's bullying hanging over everything. As the meeting ended and students began filing out, Mr. Reynolds called Devin over to his desk. "I'm glad you decided to join us," the teacher said, shuffling papers into his briefcase. "You've got a real talent for historical analysis." "Thanks," Devin replied. "It was fun." Mr. Reynolds hesitated, then added, "I've heard some concerning rumors about tomorrow." "About you and Tyler Davidson." Devin's heart sank. Even the teachers knew about it now. "It's not true," he said quickly. "I'm not fighting anyone." "I'm relieved to hear that," Mr. Reynolds said. "But I'm concerned about the situation. If you're being bullied or harassed, there are channels." "I appreciate it, Mr. Reynolds, but I'm handling it." Devin forced a smile. "Really, it's fine." The teacher didn't look convinced, but he nodded. "Well, my door's always open if you need to talk." "And Devin?" His expression grew serious. "Whatever's going on between you and Tyler, please remember that how we respond to provocation says a lot about our character." It was nearly dark by the time Devin left the school. Most of the other students were long gone, the parking lot empty except for a few teachers' cars. As Devin headed toward the bus stop, he pulled out his phone to check the time and realized he'd missed the last bus. "Great," he muttered, shoving the phone back in his pocket. Looks like he was walking home again. He was cutting across the field behind the school when he heard voices coming from the nearby bleachers. Instinctively, Devin slowed his pace, staying in the shadows of the trees that lined the field. "Can't believe he's actually scared, Tom," came a familiar voice, Tyler's voice. "I thought for sure he'd step up. Maybe he's smarter than we thought," another voice replied. "Buzz cut," Devin realized. "From what I heard about that fight in Virginia, we might be better off leaving him alone." "Don't tell me you believe that garbage," Tyler scoffed. "The guy got lucky once. Besides, it's not just about him anymore. It's about respect. If people see him back down, they'll know he's all talk. And if he doesn't back down?" a third voice asked. "What then?" There was a pause before Tyler answered. "Then we make sure he regrets it." The cold certainty in Tyler's voice sent a chill down Devin's spine. This wasn't just about proving who was tougher anymore. There was something darker in Tyler's determination, something that went beyond normal teenage rivalry. Devin backed away slowly, careful not to make any noise. As he turned to leave, his foot caught on a root, sending him stumbling forward. The movement rustled the fallen leaves around him, the sound seeming impossibly loud in the quiet evening. The voices by the bleachers went silent. "Who's there?" Tyler called out. Devin froze, weighing his options. He could run, but that would definitely give him away. He could step forward, confront them now, but he'd be outnumbered. Before he could decide, a flashlight beam cut through the darkness, sweeping across the trees where he stood. "Probably just a raccoon," Buzzcut said after a moment when the light revealed nothing. "Yeah, probably," Tyler agreed, though he didn't sound convinced. "Let's get out of here. I've got stuff to do before tomorrow." Devin remained motionless until the sound of their footsteps faded away, then released the breath he'd been holding. What had he gotten himself into? As he walked home under the darkening sky, Devin wrestled with his options. He could continue to ignore Tyler's challenge, take the high road as his father and Mr. Reynolds had advised. But Tyler wasn't going to stop. If anything, Devin's refusal to engage was making him more determined, more dangerous. Or Devin could show up at the quarry tomorrow, confront Tyler directly. End this once and for all. Neither option seemed right. Neither felt like a real solution. By the time he reached his house, Devin had made his decision. It wasn't what his father would advise. It wasn't what Mr. Reynolds would approve of. But it was the only way Devin could see to resolve this situation on his own terms. Tomorrow he would go to the quarry. But not to fight on Tyler's terms, to rewrite the rules of engagement entirely. Friday dawned clear and crisp, the kind of autumn day that normally would have lifted Devin's spirits. Instead, he felt a heaviness in his chest as he got ready for school. The basketball team roster would be posted today, but that seemed trivial compared to what awaited him after the final bell. At breakfast, his mother noticed his distraction. "Everything okay, sweetheart?" she asked, refilling his orange juice. "You've barely touched your toast." "Just thinking about a test today," Devin lied. The last thing he needed was his parents finding out about the quarry situation. His father looked up from his coffee. "You know, son, I've been meaning to ask if you've found a place to train around here. It's been a few weeks since you've practiced." Devin had almost forgotten. Back in Virginia, he'd trained at Master Chen's dojo 3 times a week. It had been his sanctuary, a place where he could focus his energy and clear his mind. Since moving here, he hadn't even thought about finding a new training center. Coach Winters mentioned her brother runs a dojo downtown, Devin said, remembering the conversation. "Maybe I'll check it out this weekend." His father nodded approvingly. "Good. It's important to keep up with your training, not just for the physical benefits, but for the mental discipline." Mental discipline. That's exactly what Devin needed right now. The school day passed in a strange blur. Teachers taught, students whispered, and through it all, Devin felt oddly detached, as if watching everything from a distance. At lunch, his friends were unusually quiet, stealing glances at him when they thought he wasn't looking. Finally, Lily broke the silence. "So, about today." "I know what you're going to say," Devin replied, pushing his fork through his mashed potatoes. "And yes, I'm going to the quarry." Tom's eyes widened behind his glasses. "You're actually going to fight him?" "I didn't say that." Devin looked around at their concerned faces. "I'm going to end this, but not by throwing punches." "Tyler won't listen to reason," Jackson warned. "He's got too much pride on the line now." "I'm not planning to reason with him," Devin said. "I've got something else in mind." Rosa, who had been quietly sketching as usual, looked up. "Whatever you're planning, be careful. Tyler fights dirty." As the bell rang, signaling the end of lunch, Devin spotted Coach Winters entering the cafeteria. She caught his eye and gave a small nod toward the bulletin board by the gym entrance. Curious, Devin broke away from his friends and headed in that direction. A small crowd had gathered around the newly posted basketball team roster. Devin waited for a gap to open, then stepped forward to scan the list. There it was, halfway down the varsity list. Johnson, Devin. A mixture of pride and surprise washed over him. He'd made varsity as a transfer student, a rare achievement. As he stood there, Will appeared beside him, clapping him on the shoulder. "Told you," the senior grinned. "Welcome to the team, Johnson." "Thanks," Devin said, still processing the news. First practice is Monday after school. Will's expression grew more serious. So try not to get yourself suspended before then, okay? So even Will had heard about the quarry. Was there anyone in the school who didn't know? As Devin turned to leave, he nearly bumped into Buzzcut, who was also checking the list. Their eyes met, and for a moment, Devin thought he saw something like respect in the other boy's gaze. Then Buzzcut found his own name on the JV list, and his expression clouded. "Congrats," he muttered, the word clearly costing him. "You too," Devin replied, nodding toward the JV list. Buzzcut shrugged. "JV's not varsity. It's still the team," Devin pointed out. "And there's always next year." Something shifted in Buzzcut's expression, surprise maybe at Devin's lack of gloating. Before he could respond, Tyler appeared at the edge of the crowd, his eyes narrowing when he spotted them talking. "Ryan," Tyler called sharply. "Let's go." Buzzcut, Ryan, hesitated, then nodded at Devin before rejoining Tyler. As they walked away, Devin could see Tyler talking intensely, shooting glances back in his direction. The final bell couldn't come soon enough. As students poured out of the building, an unusual energy filled the air. Word about the quarry had spread beyond just the immediate social circles. It seemed like half the school was planning to be there. Devin found his friends waiting for him at the front entrance. "We're coming with you," Lily announced, her tone leaving no room for argument. "You don't have to do that," Devin said, touched by their loyalty but concerned for their safety. "Yes, we do," Tom insisted. "Friends stick together." "Besides," Rosa added with a small smile, "someone needs to make sure you don't do anything stupid." They set off together, joining the stream of students heading toward the old quarry at the edge of town. The walk took about 20 minutes, leading them down a dirt path through a wooded area until they reached a clearing. The quarry itself was a large, water-filled pit, surrounded by rocky ledges and flat areas where generations of teenagers had gathered to swim, party, or just escape adult supervision. Today, it looked like a makeshift arena. At least 30 students had already arrived, forming a loose circle in the largest flat area. In the center stood Tyler, flanked by his usual crew, looking confident and ready. As Devin and his friends approached, a hush fell over the crowd. Tyler turned, a smirk spreading across his face when he spotted Devin. Well, look who decided to show up after all," he called out. "I was beginning to think you'd chickened out." Devin stepped forward, leaving his friends at the edge of the circle. "I'm here, Tyler, but not to fight you." A murmur ran through the gathered students. Tyler's smirk faltered slightly. "What's that supposed to mean?" "It means I'm not playing your game anymore." Devin looked around at the expectant faces watching them. "Everyone's here because you've been spreading rumors about me. About a fight at my old school. About how I supposedly put someone in the hospital." "That's what I heard," Tyler said defensively. "Then you heard wrong, or you twisted the truth to make me look bad." Devin took a deep breath. "Yes, there was an incident at my last school. Yes, I know how to fight. I've been training in mixed martial arts since I was 8 years old. But I've never used those skills to hurt anyone who didn't attack me first." The crowd was silent now, hanging on every word. "So here's what's going to happen," Devin continued. "I'm going to show you what real martial arts training looks like. Not fighting, training. And then we're going to be done with this." Tyler scoffed. "What is this, a kung fu demonstration? We came here to see a fight." "No," Devin said firmly. "You came here to see me get humiliated. That's not happening today." Without waiting for a response, Devin moved to an open space nearby. He took off his jacket and shoes, placing them carefully on a flat rock. Then he closed his eyes, took a centering breath, and began one of the advanced kata forms Master Chen had taught him. The movements were fluid yet powerful, each transition precise and controlled. Years of training had ingrained these forms into his muscle memory. As he moved, Devin felt a familiar calm washing over him. This was what his father had meant by mental discipline, the ability to find focus and clarity even in chaos. The watching students fell into a hushed silence. Even Tyler stopped talking, his eyes tracking Devin's movements with grudging attention. When Devin finished the form, he opened his eyes to find the entire gathering watching him with expressions ranging from awe to confusion. He turned to face Tyler directly. "That's what martial arts is really about," Devin said, his voice carrying across the now silent quarry. "Control, discipline, respect, not beating people up to prove who's tougher." Tyler stood still, uncertainty written across his face for the first time since Devin had met him. Before he could respond, a slow clapping started from the edge of the crowd. Devin turned to see Ryan, buzzcut, stepping forward. "That was incredible," Ryan said, ignoring Tyler's glare. "How long did it take you to learn that?" "Years," Devin replied honestly. "I still have a lot to learn." Others began to voice their admiration, the mood of the gathering shifting from bloodthirsty anticipation to genuine interest. Several students moved closer, asking questions about the form, about Devin's training. Tyler watched, his expression darkening as the attention shifted away from him. "So that's it?" he finally interrupted. "A little dance routine and everyone thinks you're so special?" Devin turned back to him. "No, Tyler, the point is that I'm not special. I just put in the work. Anyone could learn this with enough practice and the right teacher." "Including me?" The question came from a small freshman boy standing nearby, his eyes wide with wonder. "Sure," Devin nodded. "Anyone who's willing to put in the effort." "This is ridiculous," Tyler snapped, his face flushed with anger. "You came here to fight, so fight." Without warning, he lunged forward, swinging wildly at Devin's face. Years of training took over. Devin sidestepped the punch easily, using Tyler's momentum against him to guide him harmlessly past. Tyler stumbled, caught off balance, and turned with an even angrier expression. "Don't do this, Tyler," Devin warned. "You won't win." Tyler attacked again, this time with more purpose. Devin blocked and deflected each punch and kick, never striking back, just redirecting Tyler's energy away from himself. The gathered students backed up, forming a wider circle around the one-sided exchange. After nearly a minute of fruitless attacking, Tyler was breathing hard, frustration evident in every movement. When he charged again, Devin finally countered, using a simple sweep to take Tyler's legs out from under him. Tyler landed flat on his back, the impact knocking the wind from his lungs. Devin stood over him, not in triumph, but with a hand extended. "We don't have to be enemies, Tyler. This can end right here." For a long moment, Tyler just stared at the offered hand, his chest heaving. The entire quarry seemed to hold its breath. Then, slowly, Tyler reached up and grasped Devin's hand, allowing himself to be pulled to his feet. He didn't speak, but the gesture itself was enough. A ripple of surprise moved through the watching students. "All right, show's over," called a familiar voice. Coach Winters pushed through the crowd, her expression stern but her eyes knowing. "Everyone clear out before I start taking names for detention." As the students began to disperse, many of them nodding respectfully at Devin as they passed, Coach approached him and Tyler. "I figured something like this was brewing," she said, looking between them. "You two work things out?" Tyler brushed dirt from his clothes, not meeting anyone's eyes. "Yeah, we're good," he muttered, then walked away to join his friends, who were looking at him with varying degrees of shock and confusion. Coach turned to Devin. "That was some impressive control you showed, Johnson. My brother would be impressed." She handed him a business card. "Winters Martial Arts Academy. Come by tomorrow if you're interested. First lesson's free." Devin looked down at the card, a smile spreading across his face. "I'll be there." As Coach walked away, Devin's friends surrounded him, their voices overlapping with excitement and relief. "That was amazing. Did you see Tyler's face when you flipped him? I can't believe you didn't even hit him once." Lily squeezed his arm. "You know this changes everything, right? You're going to be a legend now." Devin laughed, the tension of the past week finally leaving his shoulders. "I don't need to be a legend. I just want to be me." As they walked back toward town, the setting sun painting the sky in shades of orange and pink, Devin felt something he hadn't experienced in a long time, a sense of belonging. For the first time since arriving at Westlake, he wasn't